Hello friends, this is Growl. In this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly what you should do in the first week of Shadowlands after you hit level 60. First of all, I want to apologize. I may sound a little fried, and that's because I am. I've been playing 16, 17 hours every day. I've been having a blast. I hope you guys are having fun too. One common topic that's getting asked a lot in my stream, everyone is starting to catch up. They're getting max level, and they're wondering, what do I need to do when I hit level 60? So this video, I'm going to cover a lot of the questions I get, the different systems in play, what's important, what's not important, and so on. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is leveling alts. There's not a whole lot to do right now, as you'll see later on in this video, and there's plenty of good time to level alts. All your friends are on, they're playing, they're doing dungeons, they're going through the quest line again, and now is a great time to get those out of the way to get your alts max level, because you're not going to want to do those later. What I've been doing to level my alts is using the new Threads of Fate. That is the ability to skip the storyline. A lot of people have been interested. What is Threads of Fate? How does it work? What's the best way to level alts? So I'll explain it real quick. Your first character has to complete the storyline. After you complete the storyline, you select your covenant. You go to your covenant hall. My shaman is a necrolord. You go to the point where you pick your soulbind tree. Once you have this guy, you have your soulbind tree started, you now have Threads of Fate unlocked. Now, when you go on an alt, you still have to go through the intro quest in the Maw, then you go to Oribos. Instead of the normal Oribos intro, you'll be greeted by an NPC. He'll ask you if you want to skip everything. If you say yes, that's what is called the Threads of Fate storyline, where you can choose what you want to do. You immediately can just take your covenant, you can get your ability. You don't have access to the main storyline, but you can do whatever you want. And I've been doing that on my alts. I've been leveling really fast, and a lot of people have asked for my thoughts on that. If you have a good team, if you have a squad, or if you're a good tank player and you can make a team, because that's what all the groups need is a tank, then go for it. This is a really fast way to level. I've been getting 400, 500, sometimes even 600 XP per hour doing this Threads of Fate dungeon spamming. I've leveled 4 different characters through it. All take about 6 hours, let's say. And I would highly recommend it if you're able to fetch a squad or get a group going. If you're just a lone ranger, if you're 1 DPS, you may not have a good time doing this. The dungeon queues might be long for you. Try and find a tank buddy at the very least, or find a whole group, get your guildies in there or your friends, then it'll be fast. Otherwise, you may just want to do the story again. So that covers alts. Now, what do you need to do? The most important thing you need to do is complete everything in Torghast on the first week. All that's available is layers 1 through 3 in 2 different wings. So what you need to do is you need to complete layer 3 in both wings. You'll know you did everything if you have 810 soul ash. That's the resource that you get to craft your legendaries, and once you have 810 in that first week, you're golden. There's no more soul ash or legendary stuff that you can do. The Torghast experience isn't too tough. You may want to try and gear up a little bit to make things easier, or maybe go with a group. Personally, I think just gearing up a little bit and doing it solo is fine. That's something that you need to do week 1 on as many characters as possible. Because if you miss the soul ash that you get, is you can only get a certain amount per week. Once the week passes, that soul ash is gone. There's no way to recover that. And honestly, that's it. I have videos going over Torghast explaining, what to expect and all that, but it's really not too tough. It's if you fail it, you can go back in. There's no problems there. And that's the only important thing you need to do this week, is do your Torghast. But there are some things that you might want to do otherwise. So the other thing that people have been having questions about is Renown. What the heck is Renown? I have a video going over it, but I'm going to explain exactly how it works here very quickly. Renown is really the only thing with Covenant-wise that's tied to player power somewhat. You want to keep up your Renown. If you fall behind, you can always catch up, but hey, if you're in week 1, if you want to be caught up, you want to be at the same level as everyone else. So what Renown level can you get? Right now, the first week you can only be Renown 3. You may see a guide that says you can be Renown 4. That is because there's a quest that, for whatever reason, isn't in the game right now. It may get added this week. It may not be available till next week. But either way, the only Renown level you can be is Renown 3. How do you get there? Well, just going through the storyline gives you Renown 2. That's all you need to do to get Renown 2 is go through the Covenant storyline, get your Covenant, all that. How do you get Renown 3? Renown 3 is a quest called Replenish the Reservoir. You go to your Sanctum Upgrades guy at either whatever Covenant you get this quest. Get this quest as soon as possible. This quest asks you to get 1,000 anima. You don't need to deposit it. You don't need to do anything with it. The only part of the quest is to obtain 1,000 anima. Let's say you had 500 anima that you got, but you didn't get this quest. You'll get the quest and it'll still say 0 of 1,000. The quest is to get 1,000. So get this quest as soon as you get level 60 and you're doing stuff. You start doing things, you realize 1,000 anima is a lot. How do you get 1,000 anima? It's actually very easy. There are weekly quests available. I don't know exactly how it's going to work in every week, but this is how you get 1,000 anima in your first week. The very first quest you want to get is in Sanguine Depths. It's at the top of Revendreth. There's a NPC. I think you need to go inside the dungeon to get the quest. All you need to do is beat the dungeon to get the quest. That quest gives you 750 anima. So get this quest first, then go to Sanguine Depths. You can run it on normal or heroic. I don't think it matters. And you get that 750. Where do you get the other anima? There are actually more dungeon quests. So I'll log into my priest real quick. Here's me showing off all my level 60 characters that I have already. There are more dungeon quests that you can get in the basement of the inn in Oribos. So what you'll do is, hopefully you haven't gotten these yet and completed these because they reward anima and you want it to go towards your total of the 1,000. So here I'm at the inn in Oribos. You go this way down these stairs and there are 2 different quests you can get. One is for Spires of Ascension, one is for Necrotic Wake, and they reward you with, I believe, 175 anima. You can see I've done one of them on my priest right here, so I have that 175. This is the guy that has it. This is the guy that has the other one. Bam. There's your 1,000 already. All you need to do is do 3 dungeon runs and you get 1,000. Is there a reason to do more anima stuff? Not really. You can do it if you want to play around with your Covenant and the Sanctum upgrades, but in terms of your character power right now, there's no point in getting more anima. And the quests later that you get for you can't bank them for next week either, because it's anima obtained, not anima deposited. So let's say you go get 5,000 more anima this week because you're going nuts. Next week, you can't use that. That doesn't count. You can still use it for your Covenant Sanctum stuff, but it doesn't count towards your Renown. So, okay. So now we understand how to get max Renown. What else do you do? There's some rep quests. The most important rep quests are in the Maw. I don't have them yet on this guy, but there's a Venari rep in the Maw. There are Maw dailies that you want to do. If you eventually reach Exalted with Venari, you will be able to buy sockets with I believe it's Stygia that you get from them. That's something that you want to work towards slowly. It isn't important at the very beginning, but you want to, in your spare time, be doing these Maw dailies, because eventually you're going to get gear that's best in slot, and you're going to want to put sockets in it. And you cannot put sockets in your gear unless you are Exalted with Venari. So this is the first thing. This isn't there's no rush to do this, but this is what you should be doing in your spare time. If you've done Torghast, if you've done your Renown, this is what's next. Then, if you really want to keep going, you can do your calling quest. So in your Covenant area, you'll have these quests called callings. These are essentially like emissaries. They, I think, are available for 3 days each. They're like just more dailies, and this gives you rep. This can give you some other things. It can give you items and conduits. This stuff isn't super important, but again, this may be one, if you want to max out your Exalted rep for your Covenant, this is something you may want to do. And that's really it in terms of rep and farmable stuff. The last thing I want to talk about is items. How do you get better gear? So the best gear that you can get right now, aside from random like BOEs or drops or quest rewards, is Mythic 0 dungeons. You can only do Mythic 0, or you can only get loot from Mythic 0 one time per week for each dungeon. So ideally, you go into these dungeons with your friends. If they have the same armor type, or maybe you can share different items, that's the best case scenario. So try and find a squad that'll do all of them. If not, if you're a lone ranger, you may have to go into group finder here. However, if you're, let's say you have a squad of good players, you can do these at 140, 150 item level pretty easily. However, if you're trying to use the group finder, you may find that you aren't going to be able to get into these runs with 140 item level. Like, let's look right here. See, these guys 165 DPS. So in order to get into Mythic 0 pugs, you're probably going to need to be higher item level than 140 or 150. You're going to need to get to 160 or so. How do you get that? Well, heroic dungeons. Heroic dungeons are much easier than Mythic 0. You can do one per day, and they reward items about item level 170. So if you're high enough item level, you can go into the group finder here and just queue for a random heroic dungeon. You need to be about 150 item level to do this. If you just hit 60, you probably won't be. So even though you're still probably powerful enough to do heroics, what you want to do is go in the dungeon journal. You can still do heroic dungeons. You just have to walk to the dungeons. You can't use the dungeon finder for it. So you'll go in here, you'll look for a heroic run. So you know what you're doing, please. You know, definitely some nice guys in here. Join them up, do some heroics, get some gear, find some mythics, then do your mythics, and then you're jamming. Then you're going to be 170, 175 item level, and you'll be able to slam. And eventually all this gear isn't super important right now, but if you're really looking to min-max your gear and get as strong as you can before the raid comes out, this is how you do it. You just gear up through heroics if you need to, or if you have a guild and friends, you can go straight into the Mythic Zeros, but that's where you get your gear. So that covers everything. So I covered how to get your Torghast Soul Ash, that's the most important. Leveling alts, that was a question that was really common. Then how do you get your Renown up, and then where do you get your gear? So that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to talk about. I hope this cleared up some questions that you had about what you should be doing in the first week and what your end goals are. It's not super overwhelming. It's very easy to keep a couple characters maintained, and that's that. So thanks for watching. If this video helped you, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be coming out with tons more Shadowlands content coming soon. I have my dungeon guides and class guides coming out shortly within the next couple weeks. They're in the works, but yeah, the release kind of got in the way. So thanks again, and happy keying.